Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money, with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 187 of Screw the Commute podcast. This is going to be up your video game, not up yours, up your video game, all right? I'm going to give you a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that will make your videos way more exciting. Now, I hope you didn't miss episode 186. That was Daryl Hill. He's a great veteran who's helping many other veterans with PTSD problems and entrepreneurs on their mental game. Very powerful stuff. And also, please tell your friends about this podcast. The more successful it is, the more freebies I'll be able to give our faithful listeners. And make sure you grab a copy of our podcast app in the Apple Store. You can go to screwthecommute.com/app, that's APP, where we have complete instructions to show you how to use all the fancy features so you can take us with you on the road. Put it on your cell phone and tablet. And if you would be so kind, please visit iTunes and leave us a review and a rating. It really helps out the show. Now, I've got a big freebie to thank you for listening to this podcast. It's my $27 ebook, How to Automate Your Business. And just one of the tips in this ebook has saved me over 7.5 million keystrokes. And I just might have a little something else over there for you that I know you're going to like when you go to the download page. So check it out at screwthecommute.com/automate-free, screwthecommute.com/automate-free. Now, we're just finishing up Vetrepreneurs Month, and our sponsor is the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. And we're approved by the Department of Defense to participate in the MyCAA Military Spouse Scholarship Program. Now, we give a $9,500 scholarship to all military, active duty, veterans, law enforcement, and first responders. But the MyCAA program gives an additional $4,000 to military spouses that are eligible, so they get a total of $13,500 towards their education. And this education of internet marketing, they can take it with them anywhere they happen to be stationed. So check that out at imtcva.org/military. And of course, everything we do will be in the show notes. This is episode 187. So you go to screwthecommute.com/187 to find out all the stuff that'll be in the show notes. And there's going to be a lot of it today because of video examples. So if you really want to take advantage of today, this audio to get you fired up about video, you still have to see some of the examples in the show notes. And one more sponsor message is our VIP video weekend. It's coming right up. So if you're listening to this as it was just released, go right away to screwthecommute.com/video weekend. And if you don't listen to this till afterwards, get in touch anyway. If you get at least 4 people together, we'll make a custom event for you. Or we also have a one-on-one deal where you end up with about 4 times as many finished videos. And you can do that anytime we can fit it in the schedule. So check that out right away at screwthecommute.com/video weekend. screwthecommute.com/video weekend. All right, let's get into the main event. Up your video game. All right. I'm going to give you a bunch of ways to jazz up your videos. Now, I'm not suggesting you use all of these ideas in one video. You could use a bunch of them, but you don't want to look stupid by plastering too many techniques that don't make sense all in one video. All right. You got to use your common sense here. Now, I'm also going to give you other tips to help you make decisions when you have to make decisions about like progressive or interlaced videos or what frame rate makes sense for your video and lots more. It's a little bit of a techie stuff. Now, for those of you that are happy with the picture you're getting on your cell phone videos and just want to make more exciting videos, you can ignore the techie stuff and just refer back to the show notes if you want, or if you run into a situation where you have to make some technical decisions, you can look at the techie stuff. And I'm not going to bury you with techie stuff. I just want you to know some things so you'll be able to make better decisions if they come up. And in the show notes, remember this is episode 187, so it's screwthecommute.com/187. I'm using an audio podcast, all right, to tell you about a visual medium. Okay, so if you want to get the absolute most out of this episode, you got to go to the show notes when you can and watch the sample videos I've put there for you. They will really enhance what you learn here and give you concrete examples that you can emulate and put into play in your videos. All right, let me get some of the techie stuff out of the way quickly. I mean, you may run into times when your camera asks you for settings, and I got to tell you, for years, I had no idea what to pick. So fortunately, the basic default settings on your cell phone help you get darn good videos without knowing about the settings. But if you want more control and you run into situations that your video could be much better if you knew about this, pay a little attention to this section. How about that? All right, the first little thing we're going to talk to you about is frame rates. Now, see, video is really a bunch of still pictures played together rapidly to make your brain see motion instead of a bunch of still pictures. Frame rates are the number of these still pictures shot per second on your cell phone or video camera. All right, now I'm going to get more into frame rates in a second, but there's another little thing you got to understand. So the next thing you need to know about are the way these still pictures are captured. They can be either progressive or interlaced. And progressive, I'm not talking about politics, all right? It's a type of video shooting. So what the heck does progressive or interlaced mean? Well, progressive means that the entire picture is captured at one time. And this is one frame. And when you play all these single frames back, one after the other rapidly, your brain sees a moving picture. Now, all web video is displayed as progressive, no matter how you shot it. And another advantage of progressive is that you can grab still frames off your video. Maybe you want to make thumbnails, or you just had a beautiful scene that you just wanted to make a still photo out of it. Now, with interlaced, each frame is really two half frames stuck together, all right? And the one advantage of this is that it can make smaller file sizes. But here's the thing. Nobody I know shoots modern footage interlaced. Just stick with progressive, and you'll be just fine. And that's usually abbreviated P for progressive. All right, now we can jump back to frame rates, or how many of these pictures per second are being shot and what that means to you. All right, let's start at 24p. That's 24 frames per second shot in a progressive fashion. It's capturing 24 frames, full frames and pictures each second. So what this does is it gives you a more surreal or movie-like or cinematic look. So that's a good thing. But the downside of that is fast movements of the camera or the subject may be a little bit blurry. So you've got to say, oh, am I trying to shoot my kid's soccer game at 24p? Well, that might not work too good. All right, now the next little jump up is 30p, 30 frames per second progressive. So this reduces the jitter and blurriness a little bit, but it keeps some of the surrealistic or cinematic feel of the video. And this works well if the footage you shoot is going to be broadcast on TV, but it still might not be the best choice if you have a lot of fast pans. Now, pan of a camera is left to right or right to left, sideways movements, like kind of. So that's 30p. Now, the next one is called 60i, or sometimes it's called 29.97i. This is, think of this as 30 interlaced frames. So it's about the same as the 30p. And trust me, folks, we don't have too much more of this techie stuff. Or it's like 60 half frames put together. Now, this is known as the video look or reality look. And this is good for faster motion and a real, reality look to a scene. You've seen this, like, I think some TV shows are shot like this. Maybe The Office, maybe. I'm not sure. All right, the next one is 60p. That's 60 frames per second progressive. Now, this gets rid of the trouble with interlaced video. See, interlaced video with fast motion is blurry. So shooting anything interlaced, you got to know that it's going to be blurry if there's fast motion of the camera or the scene. So with 60p, it gets rid of the trouble that the interlaced video has, and it's great for fast motion. You get twice as many frames shot per second. And it also can be slowed down on playback for slow motion and in what they call frame accurate. So that means that the slow motion is going to be really pretty because the camera didn't have to throw in any fake digital scenes to try to fill in blanks that might have been left when you're trying to do this. So 60p is a great way to shoot. It'll handle fast motion, and you can do slow motion with it. All right, now the next big jump up is 120p. That's 120 frames per second, progressive. Now, this can give you extreme slow motion shots, and lots of action cams and like GoPros have this frame rate. Now, you've probably seen some super high slow motion or super slow motion, like a bullet going through a balloon or something, or a water balloon. And, it's super, those are shot at sometimes 10,000 frames per second. That's a very specialized camera, very expensive, and you have to be into that to want to even bother with that. All right, so what's the downside of shooting at the faster frame rates? Well, the file sizes are going to be bigger. You're probably going to need more light to make it work, and you may see a reduction in the quality of the video. Now, this is just a quick layman's explanation of this because I don't claim to be an expert on this stuff, but just knowing these basics are going to help you out considerably if you're faced with choices on how to shoot a certain scene. I can tell you that I don't know anybody, again, that shoots anything but progressive. All right, let's get into some equipment. Well, your cell phone, virtually all modern cell phones have the capability to shoot great video. So don't feel like you have to go buy really expensive stuff to up your video game. If you did want to up your video game, one thing would be something, either a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. A DSLR stands for digital single lens reflex camera. Who cares, right? What it's called, right? But it does make a difference because it's bigger and bulkier. It's usually pretty high quality, more expensive, can do all kinds of stuff with it. One of the big advantages of a DSLR is there's an enormous variety of lenses. See, you can change the lens on a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, but the DSLR, they've been around forever. It's the kind you see professional photographers using, and they'll shoot video also, a lot of them nowadays, but you just have an enormous amount of accessories and lenses if you want to do specialty stuff. Now, a mirrorless camera is probably what you're going to get if you want to up your game because it's easier to use, it's cheaper, it's lighter, it's smaller, and it still has some variety of lenses that you can put on it, different lenses. So that's probably what you would start with if you're going to up your game, a mirrorless camera. And I've included a nice article that tells you the differences between the DSLR and the mirrorless cameras if you want. Now, if you might be into photography too, so that might make you want to get a DSLR, but this article, and it happens to be from Tom's Guide, and I'm not the Tom that wrote it, some other guy. but it'll compare the two for you. So that would be an upgrade from just your cell phone. Now, I was talking about interchangeable lenses. Well, you can get a cell phone case for your exact cell phone that you can mount high quality zoom and wide angle and macro lenses. Macro means it'll shoot like extreme close-ups. Now, these cases and lenses aren't cheap, but they're way cheaper than high quality lenses for DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. Now, if you do want to try some lenses on your camera on a budget, a cheaper route is to get these clip-on lenses. For as little as $5, you can get this clip-on lens that covers over the top of your cell phone or tablet lens. It just clamps on there, and they're usually lower quality and plastic, but they can get the job done on a budget. So check those out. Next piece of equipment, you probably want a selfie stick. Now, you can get selfie sticks that have Bluetooth remotes, so you can operate the camera without touching it. So that's a handy little feature. And then some selfie sticks have a fold-out little mini tripod on the bottom, so you can sit them somewhere like a mini tripod. It's very convenient to do that. So check out on Amazon for those things. And the next thing is a gimbal stabilizer. These things are getting cheaper all the time, and they allow you to take really cool shots with the camera moving as smooth as silk. Now, they do take practice, but they can take your shooting to a high level. And the one I have has pre-programmed stories in it with music and exciting transitions already pre-programmed. And I'll put one in the show notes of me drawing and aiming a gun. And the entire thing, it's a 10-second little story, was shot and finished in about 45 seconds. Right? To do it by hand would have been several hours. Now, I happen to have the gimbal stabilizer called the DJI Osmo Mobile 3. When you listen to this, maybe the Mobile 4 will be out. I don't know. The Mobile 3 just came out about a month ago. And if you want to check this out, go to Google and just type in gimbal moves, or GIMBAL, or stabilizer camera moves. And there's loads of people showing you examples of the cool things you could do. I mean, we have one where there's a hole in the wall between our bar and our kitchen. So you can come up to the hole in the wall, stick it through, and then somebody's hiding on the other side and picks the camera up and keeps it moving. It looks like the camera went right through the wall, right? So stuff like that. All right, the next piece of equipment you might want to get is a drone. Now, they've come down in price, and they can really add some spectacular footage to your videos. But make sure you're allowed to fly them at the location you picked. I mean, more and more regulations are being levied on drone flying. Now, here's a really great tip for you. Save you a lot of money. I got a drone simulator for my PC, and one of the little controllers that matches, they're all kind of the same with the movements of the sticks on them. So you can practice learning to fly without wrecking a real drone. And anybody that's not lying to you will tell you that everybody crashes their first drone. Everybody. So if you want to minimize the chance of that, get a drone simulator. Now, here's some tips on drone shots. Go slow. If you can shoot with 2 axes of movement, maybe you're descending and turning right, or climbing and turning left, or whatever, makes a more cinematic shot. You can get shots called strafing, which is moving directly sideways. You can even set a lot of these drones to pick a spot on the ground and orbit around that spot and keep the drone pointed to that the whole way in a circle. That's really cool. I just told you about fly through the thing. No, that was, yeah. Well, hold on a second. I just remembered. I told you about the fly through with a gimbal where you're on the ground with your hand holding it and sticking it through the window or the opening. But if you better be a darn good drone pilot to fly through something and get that shot, So I wouldn't do that unless I was extremely, extremely competent. Now, another shot is parallax. Now, I think I'll talk about this later too, but parallax is where you have something very close to the camera, like some leaves of a tree or something, and that's showing and right near the camera, and then you're showing stuff that's far from the camera. It helps put people into how big an expanse that you're shooting. So that's called parallax. And then be careful with your drones. I mean, you can't take them out in heavy wind or rain or that kind of stuff, the weather. And then I'm going to talk about the golden hour a little later, of how it's a beautiful time to shoot in any kind of shooting, not just drones. All right, another thing you can do, this is not drones anymore. Well, I guess it could be drones, but you'd have to be pretty slick to pull this one off. You can have multiple cameras shooting the same thing from different angles and then edit them together. I guess your friend could be operating a drone, just make sure they don't hit you in the head with it. And then you're holding a selfie stick or something like that. And you can do all this by yourself with a tripod for one camera and a second tripod or a selfie stick for the main camera, or you could simply hold it in the selfie position. All right, now let's talk about your performance a little bit. Having movement in your pictures always creates more excitement than just talking head stuff. And I've done tons and hundreds of hours of talking head stuff. But there's some things you can do to jazz that up too. But some things you can do is run up to the camera or move up to the camera as the opening scene. I know one guy puts the camera on the ground and runs up to it and kneels down in front of it. That's his opening to his videos. Another very common thing you'll see that's, well, when I say common, not everybody does it, so your people may have never seen that who's watching your videos, but they almost look like they're punching the camera with an open hand right up to the lens, and then they use that as a place to cut to a different scene. So it's pretty cool. It's like, ha! And then the hand goes right up to the camera, and then the next scene, you're somewhere else. All right, so that's another one. Try to get your energy up higher than you normally would, unless you have a really, really somber topic. In that case, a lot of these things wouldn't make sense. Now, if you don't have a teleprompter and you have to say a bunch of stuff, don't worry. Things have changed so radically. There's a shooting technique, or there's what used to be a massive mistake that we would spend hours trying to fix. Is called a jump cut. A jump cut is where the scene jumps, but you're still in the same scene. That used to be the biggest no-no on earth. And this is how things have changed, folks. This is a very common procedure now, and accepted and used like crazy everywhere. Now, some people don't like it, but for the majority of people, this takes time out of the video. So basically, you say a sentence, which is easy to memorize, and then you stand there and look at your paper and see what the next sentence is, and then say the next sentence. And then you look at your paper and say the next sentence. and then in editing, you just cut out the dead space between you talking. So you don't have to have a teleprompter. You don't have to memorize long scripts or have somebody holding a cue card up for you. You just, so you start watching, you'll see a lot of these jump cuts in videos where people are talking, and then it just jumps to them saying the next sentence and jumps to them saying the next sentence. You see their head move a little bit, that kind of thing. Those are called jump cuts. They used to be totally wrong, where we would have to do whatever possibly we could to fix them. Now it's accepted. That's the way things change. So that's jump cut technique. I guess I was going to describe it later, but that's pretty much what it is. Okay, next little section, what to shoot and what to put in your video. All right, to jazz it up. So first of all, if you're at a place where nobody recognizes, like maybe they see you every day sitting at your desk, that's one thing. But if you're out and about, you might want to shoot a big wide shot called an establishing shot. Those of you old enough to remember the TV show Cheers, the opening of every show was the outside of the building and said Cheers on it, and then boom, cut to the bar instantly. All right, so that's what it's called, an establishing shot, so people know where in the heck you are if you're not in your normal place or if it's not obvious. Now, the next thing is when you are shooting, shoot lots of what is called B-roll. This can really up the game for you by just shooting interesting things around you. And one of the things we're going to talk about is shooting outside. And so if you see some ducks in a pond, shoot them. If you see somebody on a unicycle, shoot it. Anything interesting, shoot it. And what happens is you're telling your main thing in the video, but then if you happen to refer to somebody on a unicycle and how tough that must be to learn, but practice makes perfect, then you're doing what's called voiceover, and they are seeing the person on the unicycle. See? So it makes it more interesting, and it can help cover up stuff if you mess up what you're saying. All right, you can re-record that, and they don't see your lips moving. They just see the guy on the unicycle or the person on the unicycle going by, or they see you cut to the ducks. So that makes it more interesting automatically. So shoot lots and lots of B-roll that you can plug in to make it more interesting. Also, to make it more interesting, you can put graphics on. And here's some examples of graphics. Lower thirds go across the bottom of the screen. They're very common, but you got to be more careful with those nowadays, because if you're on YouTube and you're monetizing your channel, ads are put there, so you can't see the ad or your lower third. So that's changing somewhat if you're going to be a place where they're putting ads on. You can put buttons on there. You can put your book covers. You can put graphics. You can put pictures. You can the B-roll is basically a picture, and you can put picture in picture. So you could have some of that B-roll video playing in a smaller box when you're still being seen talking. All of this stuff jazzes up your videos more. In fact, a lot of times we shoot over in the studio, we shoot me off to the side to leave room for those. Now, another technique is that you stay in the middle, but then you shift to one side when the graphic goes up on one side. Then maybe shift to the other side, put a graphic on the other side. Any of these things can, as long as it doesn't start looking like a circus, can be more interesting and keep people watching, which is critical, especially if you want success on YouTube, because percentage of watch time is now the holy grail. It used to be just the number of views, but if people started abusing that system by putting robots just clicking the video and running the view count up, well, YouTube caught that in no time, and now they want to see how long will somebody watch your video, and they track it. And if they watch your video longer than your competitors, you'll be higher in the search results. See, and these techniques, I'm telling you, help make that happen, where it's so interesting, people don't want to click away. All right, another thing you can put in your videos, music. Now, make sure you don't use copyrighted music. There's plenty of places. Mike Stewart, the internet audio guy, will sell you some. Music Bakery is a place you can get them. Some of your programs include little clips that's already been paid for or you can use in your productions. And then one little tip, sometimes you can change the music when you change topics. See, that would be another little editing tip to keep the interest going. And make sure, of course, that your music matches what you're talking about. You wouldn't want a big hip-hop thing if you're talking about surviving the loss of a loved one. So music can really change the entire mood, and that's a whole art in itself. But anyway, music can jazz it up. All right, the time of day. Let's talk about that a little bit. Millions, I would say hundreds of millions of dollars over the years have been spent in Hollywood in the time period from a half hour before sunset or sunrise to half hour after sunrise, and then a half hour before sunset to a half hour after sunset. This is known as the golden hour. It's a beautiful time to shoot. Not only drone shots, but any other stuff you're shooting outside. It's just one of the most beautiful times of day. And like I said, hundreds of millions of dollars have been set up waiting for just those moments, with big crews getting that shot during the golden hour. All right, this is not exactly time of day, but this is overcast. Overcast is a beautiful time to shoot because you don't have harsh shadows. You have a giant diffused soft light coming from daylight. So anytime it's overcast, avoid, if it's a sunny day, trying to shoot in the midday if you're out and about, because it creates harsh shadows. You squint, you sweat, all kinds of stuff. So unless you can get under like a pavilion or something that's a place that has no sides on it, like in a park, it just has a roof and uprights, then that'd be okay. Or you can also shoot in sunlight by putting a big reflector over your head so that it catches the sunlight, so you're not squinting. Those kinds of things. But golden hour is beautiful. Anytime it's overcast, that's beautiful. Now, where to shoot? Hey, go outside more than you're used to. Go outside, find interesting locations. In fact, that's part of our video training. The whole second day is out in the field teaching you how to shoot marketing videos no matter where you are. So it's powerful technique, very interesting. People love it. Much more likely to get watched than you just sitting in your talking head videos. Although we do encourage you to set up a place so you can knock out important videos very quickly indoors and control the lighting and everything. We teach you that also. But when you get a chance, go outside and find interesting locations. Do the parallax thing I was telling you about, where you have something close to the camera and then you're talking. You don't even need an external microphone if you're holding the camera like a cell phone right next to your mouth. And you can put some leaves or flowers and very close to your camera, but then maybe you're shooting clear into a lake or something, So those are kinds of things you can do. All right, how to shoot. Try to shoot close up whenever you can. The more the frame is full, the more impact it makes. Shooting a person that's way out in no man's land or no woman's land doesn't have a lot of impact. Now, I have seen plenty of very pretty shots of a giant waterfall and one person standing there in their bathing suit, and they're tiny compared to the waterfall. Okay, well, that's a certain type of impact, but the waterfall was the subject, not the person. It was just the person looking so tiny compared to the waterfall was great, but couldn't see the person or any detail on the person. So that was a different type of shot. But if you wanted to emphasize the person, you would shoot them tight and have the waterfall blurred out in the background, and that would have a different type of impact. So we're talking about shooting tight. Now, most professional videographers don't zoom very much. However, again, how things have changed, quick, hard zooms can be very jarring to the eye. And, when I say jarring, it's not always in a bad way. A lot of times you need to grab people's attention, especially in the first 5 seconds of marketing videos. So that could be a technique where you do a extreme zoom or a zoom cuts, where you see one picture and then it cuts to the same picture, but it's closer, and then the same picture and then it's closer. All right, so that would be like, I don't know what the name for that is, but it'd be cut zooming. Motion in the shot. When motion creates interest. So just sitting there, even when I do talking head videos, I'm not just sitting there staring at the teleprompter. My head is moving, my shoulders are moving. It has to stay within the frame, but it's showing motion, so it keeps people's interest. Now, slow motion can be really gorgeous, and the nice thing about slow motion is that you can accidentally get some great shots for slow motion, because I'll just tell you a little bit about that now. If you're shooting at 120 frames per second, and you don't have to worry about the number too much. I mean, on your cell phones, if it's capable, you move the slider and it says slow motion. So it's automatically going to be shooting at 120 frames a second. Then you shoot some stuff, but here's the thing. What happens is they shoot it at 120 frames per second, but then they may play it back at 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second. So here's how it works. 1 second at 120 frames per second played back at 24 frames per second is 5 full seconds of slow-mo video. Well, you don't want to use too much of this. It'd just be ridiculous. So you could just accidentally get one good second of slow-mo, and that turns into more than enough that you would need for your final production. See? Now, there's numbers that go with this. If you were shooting at 60 frames per second and then you played it back at 30, well, you get 2 seconds of video. So all those numbers kind of work into it. But the thing is if you shoot slow-mo, it's very interesting. It can be very beautiful, but you don't have to be great at it because you only need a little bit, and then it's extended when you play it back to several seconds in your final video. Okay. All right, back to some other things you can do, how to shoot. There's another kind of transition between shots called a swish or a whip cut. Now, I have included videos on this so that you can see how easy it is to do when you're shooting if you just think about it a little bit. So basically you're taking your shot and then whipping your camera to the left or the right. And then the next shot, you whip it and do the shot. And then when you're editing, it's all blurry in those whips. When you move the camera really fast, it's all blurry. So then you just edit right where the blurs are, and you have this gorgeous, fancy, very interesting whip or blur or swish cut. And if you want to really jazz it up, you can put a whoosh, like a whoosh sound effect, like whoosh, and then you're all of a sudden in a different location. So I've included videos about how to do this and how to plan the shot to make it really cool looking. Okay. Now, also in any editing software, you have enormous numbers of transitions. And these are like wipes where one scene leaves and the other pushes it out of the way, or the screen flips like a Venetian blind, or it twirls in and twirls out. You have loads of these in your editing softwares. Now, you don't want to use a bunch of crazy ones all the time and look stupid. All right, that's where you have to have some common sense that you just don't throw everything under the sun into every video and look stupid. Okay, I told you about jump cuts. There's another topic called speed ramping. This is how you change the speed. Like if somebody's walking down a set of steps and they have to get to the bottom. Well, do you really want to watch each individual step at speed, and the whole video is starting to drag? So you speed ramp it, and then the people's feet are going really fast. And then you slow it back down, and they're at the bottom. So it's interesting to look at, and it doesn't have people going to sleep in the middle of your video. That's called speed ramping. And also it's called time remapping is some of the things called. So that's another technique you can use. Now, let's say you have some still photographs you want to work into your videos. That's cool. You can just plop them right in there, either next to your head or the full screen can be the picture. But there's a guy named Ken Burns, I think he's still alive, Ken Burns effect, where electronically in editing, it appears like the camera is moving over these still photos, but it's all done in editing. So basically you take video of the pictures, and then in the editing suite or whatever software you got, you put in the Ken Burns effect, and it makes the camera move looks like everything's moving. It's just really cool. Just again, you can find that easily on YouTube by typing in Ken Burns effect. Now, this was by no means a fully comprehensive treatise of making fantastic videos. It was just meant to get you thinking in terms of jazzing things up so that you grab and keep people's attention when you do a video. See, competition is increasing all the time, and you really need to get up to speed and add interest and excitement if you want to stay current. So check the show notes for the videos I've picked out for you, and start watching other people's videos more closely. And when you see a technique you like, copy it. Ask a video editor or videographer, how do you do that? or we'll teach you how to do it in our video training class. You might hear my little munchkin dog running around here. Start watching lots of video production videos, and you'll have more techniques than you can ever use to jazz up your videos. And also attend my video weekend on a one-on-one basis or as a group. I mean, go right away to screwthecommute.com/video weekend to see if we have any spaces available for the one coming right up. Or if it's one-on-one, we can, as soon as our schedule permits, you can get you in right away. And also, we have a deal that if you get 4 paid people, you come free. So if you want to make a special weekend, we'll do it for you. If you get 4 people to sign up, you come free. All right, so you're going to up your video game massively and go home with a ton of pro-level videos that we shoot and edit for you, all the while training you to do it yourself. This is at our video weekend, and just amazingly powerful thing that can really up your video game, which means more sales. It means more interest, more watch time, higher results on in YouTube, all those things. And also during the weekend, we train you. One of my guys wrote 3 books on video marketing on YouTube, and we teach you how to use them on social media. So we have training sessions on how to use the videos. We shoot you in our high definition studio. We send you the finished videos with graphics and everything after you get home. And we also teach you lighting and equipment techniques and simple editing. So it's very powerful all in one place. I've been doing video for over 35 years, long before the internet was around. All right, and since this is Veterapreneurs Month, I want to tell you a little bit more about how my school supports military families and how our training can help them. I mean, first of all, we give a 50% or a $9,500 scholarship to thank them for their service, and this applies to any active duty or veterans. Then for eligible military spouses, the DoD gives them an additional $4,000. And the reason this is perfect for military families, and I kind of know this firsthand, living in Virginia Beach, where we have probably the biggest collection of military in the world. I mean, spouses around here normally have to take crappy jobs at lower than average pay because employers know that they're going to get deployed, and employers don't want to invest a lot of money in people they know are going to be leaving. So then the spouse has to change the station, and then they find another crappy job in their new location. Well, this really sucks for them. So with internet marketing training, companies don't care where you live. You can work legitimately from home, and if you get deployed somewhere else, it doesn't matter. You can still be handling social media, email marketing, shopping cart stuff, customer service, and all kinds of things that every business on earth needs. And not only that, you can study at home with no expenses for books, travel, or childcare. It's a perfect fit for military families or anybody really that wants a lifestyle business. And one more thing, you can also sell your own products and services with the same skills you learn. So check it all out at imtcva.org if you're non-military, first responder, or law enforcement. But if you are, imtcva.org/military. And then give me a call. I'd be glad to talk about your online future and help you out. So, folks, this has been episode 187. Make sure you go to the show notes on this one because we're going to have lots of video examples of the things I was talking about. And, of course, YouTube is a perfect place. If you heard me say something, type it into YouTube and you'll get some info on it. Or we'll be glad at our video weekend. I'd love to see you here for that because everybody that's been here has simply changed their video life and really done well for their business. So, all right, folks, we will catch you all on the next episode. See you later.